Hey, what's up you guys? I'm Sara Lubratt, and in today's video we are trying More Exercises in Style by Raymond Queneau. This book is 99 different writing styles, all of the same 2 paragraphs, just rewritten in 99 different styles to give us the 99 exercises in style that our good buddy Raymond wrote in this book. I have made 2 of these videos before where I pick 3 of the 99 styles in this book and rewrite one of my paragraphs from my Project DE into those styles. And that's what we're doing again today. If you want to watch either of the other 2 videos that I've made thus far, they will be linked down in the description below. But without further ado, let's get talking about which 3 I'm going to be writing today. So I've already gone through and flagged the 3 that I want to do today, and the 3 are surprises, dream, and haiku, which will probably be the most challenging of these 3. But I think I'm going to do them in that order. I'm going to do surprises first, and then dream, and then haiku. So we are going to start out with the surprises style. How tightly packed we were on that bus platform, and how stupid and ridiculous that young man looked. And what was he doing? Well, if he wasn't actually trying to pick a quarrel for a chap who, so he claimed, the young fop, kept pushing on him, and then he didn't find anything better to do than rush off and grab a seat which had become free, instead of leaving it for a lady. 2 hours later, guess whom I met in front of the Gare St. Lazare? The same fancy pants, being given some sartorial advice by a friend. You'd never believe it. There are a lot of exclamation points in this one, like every sentence except the one with the question mark that said, and what was he doing? Okay, this sounds like almost somebody who's like mad at something and just like can't calm down about it, and they're like, oh my gosh, could you believe they did this and they did this and there was this, and like, oh my gosh, like that's the vibe I get. So now I'm going to read the original paragraph from my Project DE. I'm using the same paragraph that I've also done in my other 2 exercises and styles videos, just for continuity and playing with my personal writing style by trying out a variety of these in order to figure out what I like best for my writing and this project in particular. So here's the original paragraph. When she hit the main part of the castle, the hallways opened up to show the brilliance and wealth of the kingdom. Turning to walk along the southern-facing wall of the castle, the curtains blowing gently in the wind, Caden looked out over the harbor, where the ships were sailing in and out, a show of the wealth and prosperity of the kingdom. She stopped for a moment to watch the large trading ships docking. She wondered where each ship had come from, and for the ones that were leaving, what far-off shores they were headed for. So that's the original, and now I'm going to rewrite this in the surprises writing style. Alright, I'll admit that this surprises style was a little bit hard to do with the paragraph that I am using for this grand experiment, and let me show you why I say that. Here's what I ended up writing for this style. She just walked into the main part of the castle. It dripped in opulence like it was showing off its wealth. The windows were left open so the curtains just blew in the wind. There were ships in the harbor. Some had come from far, far away. Where were they off to next? I don't know. This one was interesting. Probably one of the more challenging ones that I've tried thus far. Definitely not a good fit for my Project DE. Definitely not. Anyways, I think we're gonna move on from that one relatively quickly. I did not enjoy how many exclamation points I needed to use for this style, it seemed. And granted, while I text and respond to my comments with a lot of exclamation points in my writing, I hardly ever use them because they just most of the time feel forced. And when you have really good and compelling writing, even when something is supposed to be surprising, it's often better that you don't use an exclamation point, in my personal opinion and previous experience. It's just so often not done well, and I would say that my paragraph for this style was not done well. Alrighty, so now we're going to be moving on to the second style we're tackling in today's video, and that is dream. Here is Raymond's example for dream. I had the impression that everything was misty and nacreous around me, with multifarious and indistinct apparitions. Amongst whom, however, was one figure that stood out fairly clearly, which was that of a young man whose too long neck in itself seemed to proclaim the character at once cowardly and quarrelsome of the individual. The ribbon of his hat had been replaced by a piece of plaited string. Later he was having an argument with a person whom I couldn't see, and then, as if suddenly afraid, he threw himself into the shadow of the corridor. Okay, so this style is very, well, the title of this style is Dream, and it is kind of dreamlike, but it's also just hazy and misty. Like the corners of the main character in this perspective that's rewritten 99 different times is just kind of blurry, and he's honestly like not entirely sure of what's going on around him, is how I'm taking this, but I like it almost more as a dream-like interpretation of the world that's happening around this character. Alrighty, so that's what we're writing next. Let's do it. I really liked how this one went. It just seems very almost mysterious, and while this part of my story is not mysterious, I liked the tone that it provided. So without further ado, here's the paragraph that I wrote for the dream writing style. She drifted towards the main part of the castle, the walls around her stretching. She turned and floated along the wall that normally faced the ocean. The gauzy curtains rustled in the wind. Caden looked out over the harbor where the morning fog hung low over the ocean. Just barely she could see the shapes of masts and bows sticking out through the fog and ghosts drifting along the docks. She wondered who the ghosts had been and what shapes remained concealed by the mist. So yeah, that's what I ended up writing for this dream writing style. I'm a big fan of it. While some of the other writing styles that I have tried in the past couple of videos that I've made about it, and even a little bit more reasonable than some of the ones that are in this book, I really liked this one. This seems like a very legitimate way that I would write. Potentially one of the more normal-ish ones to my current writing. Obviously not in this scene, but when I write a little bit more of like a mysterious or creepy scene, this is definitely the way that I tend to drift. But that was fun. It's very cool how quickly that like absolutely changed the tone of this paragraph. It changed it from something that was like very mundane to quite interesting, and it seems like something is hiding in the harbor. I don't know, it was kind of fun. And that brings us to our last writing style of the day, and that is haiku, which is interesting. I'm sure everybody is familiar with what a haiku is. We were all forced to write them in middle and high school English classes, but a haiku is a 3-line poem existing of 5 syllables, 7 syllables, and then 5 syllables again. And so the fact that this author was able to condense their story into 17 syllables is impressive, and we're gonna see how he did that right now. It's a short one. Summer S, long neck, plate hat, toes abuse, retreat. Station, button, friend. Short and sweet. And that is what I am going to attempt for my version of this writing style. Let's try it. If you can't tell, I'm still trying to find my favorite camera angles for this part of my apartment, and so that's why we are getting a different camera angle every single shot. This one was interesting. Very short, very sweet, and honestly easier than I thought it was gonna be given the syllable restrictions. Alrighty, here's what I wrote for the haiku writing style for the book that I threw across the room earlier. It's a short one. Hallways opened up, ships sailing, in harbor docked, brilliance and wealth. There's probably a better one that I could have written for this, but it would have taken me a long time to figure out. It's just an interesting paragraph to be working with because not a ton is happening in it necessarily. It's very much a narrated world building paragraph, which is why even some of the writing exercises in this book don't actually work for my story, or not my story, but the paragraph that I chose to do this whole experiment in. Yeah, that was interesting. I think that's kind of what I end up saying for these videos most of the time. It's just an experiment for me to try and practice my writing and see if I can stumble upon a very dramatized exercise in style, which I'm holding upside down, or different kind of style that would work really well for my writing and my writing style that I could take and adapt into being part of mine. Obviously, all of these are way more dramatic and way more emphasized than an author's writing style normally would be, because these are trying to prove a point, and that they do. So alright, I think that's gonna be it from me today, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Sara Lubratt. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure you give it a big thumbs up because it really supports my channel by telling the YouTube algorithm that you liked my video and that someone else might too. If you enjoyed this video and have not checked out either of the other two, don't forget they're down in the description box below, as well as a few other videos where I tried out writing prompts and I read some of my writing out loud. If you enjoyed this video or want to try any of the writing writing prompts mentioned in this video, please let me know down below in the comments. And if you have not already, make sure you scroll down below and hit the big red subscribe button because I post videos twice a week on Mondays and Thursdays and occasionally do some live streams. And with that, I will see you guys next time with another video. Bye! Fop. I had the impression that everything was misty and oh my gosh. Caden looked out over the harbor where the morning fog lung-ho? Ah! Okay, calm down. It's all gonna be just fine.